Got it?
Yeah.
Pastor Mulberry, can you hear me? Mulberry, excuse me. I do that to you every month. Pastor?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure you could hear me. We're just a few minutes from start.
Yes, sir.
Planning board meeting for Tuesday, March the 5th, 2024 at 4 o'clock. If y'all will stand, Pastor Mulberry, if you can set an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Andy Burnett.
Good evening, everyone. Father, we thank you again for this day. Thank you for how you blessed us to come to this point at this time in life. We thank you, dear God, for your goodness all day long. We pray, God, that you will give wisdom on the board members, God, to lead the city continuously in their decision makings. We pray, God, that your hand will rest upon this city of Palatka even the more. Bring us to be a unified people, understand the necessity, God, of coming together, that we can do more when we come together. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please have a seat. Thank you, Pastor Mulberry. Roll call, Ms. Grant.
Thank you so much. Mr. Barnes.
Here.
Mr. Deloach.
Here.
Mr. Wallace.
Here.
Mr. Burnett.
Here.
Ms. Wilson and Ms. Owens are not present for the record. Chair Kilbert.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you very much. Now we'll read the appeals and ex parte communication. Notice to any person wishing to appeal any decision made by the planning board with respect to any matter considered at such meeting will need a record of the proceedings, and for such purpose may need to ensure that a verbatim record of the proceedings is made, which record includes the testimony and evidence upon which the appeal is to be based on, Florida Statute 286-0105. Now, I need approval of the minutes from February 6th, 2024 meeting.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Second. I have a motion by Mr. Barnes and a second by Mr. Burnett. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, seeing none, passes unanimously. We'll move on to the public comments. Is there anybody here that wishes to address the board about anything other than the, what's on the agenda tonight? First afternoon? Seeing none, we'll close that part and move on to the regular public business. Moving to case PB 23-20. This is a request to amend the future land use and zoning for 3 parcels at the Azalea Place from the existing future land use of commercial to the proposed land use of residential blood. The existing zoning is general commercial, C1, and the applicant has proposed to zoning to residential, single family, R1. Who's going to present that to us?
Yeah, that's,
Board members, I'd like to introduce you to our new planning director, Lorenzo Gamewell. He comes with a vast amount of experience, having been the planning director for Palm Beach County for over 17 years. If you've ever been to Palm Beach County, you know that's no easy feat. So anyway, I would like to welcome you to his new position here in the city, and there you go.
Thank you.
honor and a pleasure to be here. I welcome the challenge. You know, the Palaca is a place that I think has a lot of potential. And we will say it's like a candy store for a planner. So many things can be done. So I hope we have a very good working and productive working relationship. I'll do my best. Be open to you for any questions, whatever. Mr. Chairman, you already introduced the item. I was going to introduce the.
I'm sorry.
Resolving this, but you've done it very good job. Basically just a small scale, plan amendment for change the future land use map. And at the same time, a rezoning, to a residential use. Staff reviewed the application. It meets the criteria for the comprehensive plan amendment. And also, the rezoning is consistent with the comprehensive plan. I don't want to get into much detail because I'm going to allow Casey to present the staff report to you. But basically, the staff is recommended approval on both items. Thank you.
Take it away, Kate.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I think for the most part, you guys have kind of already summarized it. I would
I
say.
am so sorry for stealing y'all's stuff.
No, it's fine. I apologize for my appearance today as I left my tie on the dryer before I left.
Can we fire him? I think he needs to brush his hair too.
Like, all right, simmer down.
So I do want to, I do want to welcome our new planning director as well. And I think it is an appropriate time to thank Lisa Walsh for all of her good work here.
Absolutely.
She's still with us in spirit. In a way, it's kind of appropriate that this is the last staff report that she kind of did for the city, and now we're kind of transitioning on. So looking forward to working with Lorenzo in the future, and Lisa Walsh is a great teacher as well. So just want to say, getting to the item now, case PB 2320. This should look familiar. You all approved the final plat for this last month. I believe we may have the agent on Zoom, but I'm not certain. Okay, we do. Sounds like we do. Just really quickly. This is a request, as Lorenzo said, it's a small scale comprehensive plan amendment. This is for 3 parcels totaling about half an acre out of a site totaling 3.25 acres. That might be a little confusing, but I'll get to that in a second. We just want to change the existing future land use from commercial to residential low, and change the existing zoning from general commercial C1 to residential single family R1. Do note that the applicant's application said R1A, but they agreed they want to pursue the R1 zoning. That will all be in your packet. This is, of course, your agenda, page 9. Really quickly, skipping ahead, going to table 1, you can take a look if you are interested in some of the surrounding uses, zoning, as well as land use. We'll skip ahead though to the first map on agenda, page 10. You can see the existing future land use. The subject parcels in question are that highlighted red area there. If you can look at that little box, those are the 3 parcels you all approved in the final plat in the February 6th meeting. So that those are actually the area in question we're talking about today. Page 11 of your agenda, page 3 on the staff report, figure 2 shows the future proposed land use of residential low. I'm just going to skip that. To the zoning really quickly, your agenda, page 14, and figure 3 is the zoning map. Current zoning is that brown highlighted area where it says C1. Of course, the next page, agenda page 15, figure 4. shows that we're just trying to make that into residential single family R1. I'm gonna skip ahead now to the last page really quickly. We don't see, as per the Palaca Municipal Code Section 94-38 F1 points A through Q, we don't see any major issues there. Really quickly, do want to highlight the estimated city of Palaca revenue in the table on the last page. The table, I don't think it's labeled, but just an idea of how much potential revenue this rezoning could bring into the city. Really quickly as well, the proposed project is directed to add 3 dwelling units to the city of Palaca. That's again, would be R1, probably the applicant can speak better to what their plans are and what they want to do with it than I would, but again, if we use this census designated 2.37 persons per household in 2020, that would be an increase of 7 persons. And staff recommendation on this is staff recommends the request to amend the future land use map from City of Palaca commercial to City of Palaca residential low be approved for the above parcels, and staff also recommends the request for the rezone from City of Palaca general commercial C1 to City of Palaca single family residential R1 be approved for both parcels. And I can stand for questions or again, give a question for the applicant. Thank you.
Anybody on board have any questions? Anybody have any questions for the applicant? Okay.
Before you begin your discussion on this agenda item, recall that this is both a quasi-legislative and a quasi-judicial hearing because we had a change in the comprehensive plan and a rezoning. If you have any questions about the burden there, let me know. We're probably sick of seeing these slides, but I'm just gonna pound it every single time we have one of these. So,
Thank you.
and if you have had any communications with the applicant, now would be the time to disclose your ex parte communications.
Any questions for the applicant or for the staff? Okay, well, I'll close this part of that and I'll call Robert A. Wise Buster. If you want to come to the podium, state your name and address.
Give me just a second to get a timer up, sir.
Excuse me.
Give me just a second to get a timer up, sir, sorry.
Are you ready, Ms. Craig?
I am not.
Okay. Very good.
My name is Robert A. Wise. Everybody calls me Buster. Don't ask me how I got the name, but I got it. My brother got named Butch. I've got a question about this.
Ma'am,
Address for the record, please.
address, yes, of course. State your address, please.
150 Kenneth Smith School Road.
Sorry for interrupting, go ahead.
Thank you. I attended the first meeting.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't sure about what was going on. You know, the first application was made to build houses on this property. And my understanding is that the property in question that we're talking about was, planning board approved to have a residential, where so many houses per this acreage is right here. Okay, well, not long after that was approved, then somebody, I guess, whoever had this property started building a house. And they built a house on a southwest home. They built one residence. They're still working on it. And if that's the case, y'all clear me up. I don't know. I'm not educated in real estate. But I do know that if you got a piece of property that's on commercial, you don't build a residential house. That's my opinion. This property was zoned commercial when I first come on the market. But why would you go ahead and build a house when it's not been officially zoned residential? So, and my question is also this. I question why couldn't they put the easement or in and out on Krill Avenue instead of Kelly Smith Street Road. And I understand what they said was that they'd have to get the state to, approve this and approve that. But now I'm looking at this, and it shows that the address is on Creel Avenue, not Kelly Smith. So I'm kind of confused as to what's going on with this property. I don't know if they're gonna make it all commercial, or they're gonna just make it all corners of residential. Can somebody clear that up for me?
Sure they can, either Casey or Ms. West, one of the two, can y'all answer that?
I can hear,
I'm asking staff, if they can answer your question.
We can, when the public comment is complete.
Okay.
well, that's what I'm saying. Apparently somebody started building a house where they got all the ducks in the row. Now, I've been saying like I feel. You know? So that, does that mean I gotta quit?
You got 3 minutes, you're 3 minutes, you're up. I was gonna let you go a little further, but that's okay.
Well, my minutes is up, my minutes is up. I got some questions why this was all done and procedure was done,
Yes, sir.
you know?
Okay.
So I'll leave it with that. Somebody maybe clear up what I'm talking about.
I'm sure Ms. West can. We got one more speaker, public speaker.
All right.
Allegra Kitchens.
Allegra Kitchens, 1027 South 12th Street, Black, Florida. My question has to do with, I heard the assistant planning director say that he's giving you a table showing how much revenue this brings into the city. Well, that's all well and fine, but residential costs more to the city in expense than the tax money that it brings in. If the $700,000 house in maybe 20 years, then the tax money might make up for the one-time expense of the city to build a residential unit. But in addition to the one-time expense to city services, you have a continuing expense to city services yearly, which also is monthly, but yearly, for water, sewer, garbage, police, fire, streets. So what I would like to hear from all planning people in the future, and even now, here's the revenue that comes in. So the taxes, which are very low, based on the low city millage of 6.4 mils, bringing in some taxes. But the impact, the city services, the city's done an impact fee studies. I don't know the exact figures, but when I was on the commission, we did an impact fee, the one-time impact of one residential unit being built in Black was $27,000. The ongoing was several $1,000s a year for maintaining city services. I would like to hear the planning director, not just now, but at every other meeting when this issue comes up, tell you the revenue that comes in and also tell you the one-time expense of the city for building each unit, as well as what the continuing expense might be, because I think you all need the full picture. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kitchen. Speaking to the public. Okay, seeing none, I'll close that. Ms. West, or
Casey, if you want to come up and just explain, the building out of that one residential unit that was mentioned by the first
Yes,
speaker.
so, the one, yes, it is a little confusing. So the one, so it's split. Currently, they're trying to split off into the side that's facing the Kelly Smith School Road. I guess that would be the southern end of, what did I say?
Let's go back to figure 4 if we could possibly, Sunny, so we can get a graphic on what exactly we're referring to. It is not the subject, my understanding is it's not the subject of what is currently pending before this board today.
The subject would be the 3
Right.
that are, yeah, so if this is one, it was at the time, one large parcel that I think I had mentioned was 3.25 acres total. The only portion we're looking at today are those 3 parcels on the south end that the planning board had approved last month. So you're correct when you say there actually is a house there, not to make it more confusing, but there is a house there that's actually already been broken off. The parcels on the Kelly Smith School roadside are going to be R1 of pending approval by the board, whereas the other side of that whole property, I guess would be a better word, the other side of that property is going to be commercial eventually when the applicant develops it inside. So it's always been it's been intended that those parcels on the southern end are going to be single family residences.
And then there's another question in terms of the access onto Krill. And since we do have the applicant attending by Zoom, I do know that there are probably FDOT restrictions on providing for ingress and egress to residential off of the commercial highway like Krill. But if the applicant could at least speak to whether or not they intend to change the property address with the property appraiser's office to Kelly Smith Road to reflect the accuracy of the frontage for these residential lots.
Yes, once the plat's recorded and this has been rezoned, then we'll go ahead and get the addresses for those 3 parcels. And they'll all be, driveways will be on Kelly Smith Road, so the addresses will be on Kelly Smith Road.
Because of that, it wouldn't make sense to cross through a commercial parcel onto Krill. That's why it was designed the way it was. It's the parcels, here are residential facing Kelly Smith Road. There's one other question regarding, the total cost for a project. I agree with Ms. Kitchens that you should have a very full picture of what the costs are for the city. I'm a very strong believer in understanding the financial impacts of approving, especially residential, which over the long term has proven in study after study to not pay for itself. However, the fees that you do have here do not include impact fees. As you may know, the impact fees were just lifted. There was a moratorium in place for quite a few years following the Great Recession, and they were just lifted last May of 2023. And so we are only now starting to phase those impact fees back in now that the moratorium has been lifted, and they have not been reflected in what you see here today. So there are going to be impact fees assessed for these residential lots, but it wasn't captured in this particular graphic.
Buster, did you have another question?
I did.
Chair, I apologize, but the back and forth with public during public comment is when it should happen, just
understand.
procedurally.
I understand.
Mhm.
I'm trying to, I mean, he's got some emotions going on.
I got
there.
you.
In small towns, sometimes it's easier to get it out than it
Yes,
is to keep it in. That's the only reason I'm doing, yes, sir.
If I may, we can meet with him after the meeting and we can.
That's not good. Well, you and me not gonna change anything y'all done.
Yeah.
I know that. I'm 80 years old, I know that.
Buster, I'm sorry. We just,
No problem. No
Yeah.
problem. I know how it started out,
yes, sir. It's
and I know
fine.
how to send it up.
Okay. All right, thank you, Buster. So do we have any further questions to staff from the board? Okay, seeing none, thank you, Casey. Thank you, Ms. West. What's the pleasure of the board? On the first, for the future land use map.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion. I would move that this board request or approve the request to amend the future land use map from City of Plaquemine commercial to City of Plaquemine residential low for the 3 subject parcels.
Okay, I have a motion, I have a second.
Second.
Mr. Barnes, motion. Mr. Burnett, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Now we're going to the rezoning of the property from general commercial C1 to City of Palaca, single family residential R1.
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve the request to rezone from City of Plaquemine general commercial C1 to City of Plaquemine single family residential for the 3 subject parcels.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Mr. Barnes, motion, Mr. Burnett, second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Hearing none, passes unanimously. Thank you. Moving on. We're moving on to, is Mr. Griffith still join us on this? You know?
Can I just say something?
Yes,
We're gonna have a lot of these situations because our city limits and zoning is helter-skelter, especially around the periphery.
yes,
And it's not gonna be the last one where people are gonna leave unhappy.
I understand.
We'll reach out to him to try and explain that there have been some confusion in terms of which lots were being discussed.
Okay, that's fine. I just, like I said, Ms. West, the only reason I do that back and forth, been here all my life. And I've known him all my life, and I just try to treat people with respect. And I understand the parliamentary procedure part of it, and I try to do that too. But sometimes I just don't like it. Sorry.
I completely understand it's a delicate position, but in order to be consistent for all members of the public, we need to do those uncomfortable things sometimes.
Yes, ma'am. It's, now moving on to PB 24-03, Mr. Griffin. Turn on the microphone.
Just a heads up, my light's coming back on. We're still in the backup system, but it allows the little webcam to pick up the audio better.
Okay, mine's on now, so is Mr. Griffin going to join us for this, or?
Not, is he on Zoom?
No, he had a 3:30.
You're in charge?
I guess so.
Okay.
Okay, so this is you kind of had a heads up on this from last time. However, that was a little unfair because we completely swapped it out and we did everything that was drafted last time. So what you're seeing now, is a new revised draft, with input from the whole Light to Bright team. The genesis for, the need to make this code modification was, that code enforcement was having difficulty with abandoned vehicles being left in front yards, side setbacks, very often city right-of-ways. And those vehicles consisted of, sometimes they were abandoned, but sometimes they were commercial or recreational vehicles that would stay for extended periods of time. And so this revision was pulled from multiple other different municipalities to see how similarly situated municipalities dealt with this particular issue, because it does contribute to the blight of our community when you see these vehicles scattered about on right-of-ways and front yards, often parking on grass. And it's caused a lot of complaints, and so we needed something to codify what exactly our intentions were. So that's what this is. And we, hopefully you had an opportunity to review it, and I'm available to answer questions in the absence of Mr. Griffith, but if you have one that I can't field, I'll have to defer to him.
Barn?
Now, pardon me for not knowing this already, but is all of this that's been presented brand new, or is some of this already in the code?
So the code is a little patchworky, to say the least. There are sections that pertain to abandoned vehicles already in the code, but it's very patchwork. And so this was an attempt to kind of pull it together in one very systematic way, where you have the definitions all in one place, so you're not cross-referencing all over our code. So this was an attempt to simplify and streamline exactly what the intentions were, so you wouldn't have to bounce around. But if you look at the code right now and you were to go to MuniCode and type in abandoned vehicles, you are going to see a pop-up. There is going to be a definition. And so this attempts to streamline. Does that answer your question? Okay.
Mostly, yes, and this applies only to residential properties?
Yes, Stuart Johnson. From my understanding, this is on residential, front yards, side yards, and city right-of-ways.
And just for clarity, subsection 8F looks like commercial vehicles in residential zones. So if Ed here has a certified van, he lives in the South Historic District, he cannot park his company vehicle in his driveway. Is that accurate?
If it's in the backyard, it's fine. If it's in a designated driveway, it's fine. But if it's in the front yard, on the right of way, or a side yard that is grass, it's just not okay.
So he can park in his driveway and not in the side yard?
Correct,
Or-
unless the side yard is a driveway.
Okay. Fair enough.
Any other questions? Mr. Wallace? No. Mr. Burnett? I didn't say Mr. Dillon because he was already shaking his head that. Okay,
I have one more, I'm sorry.
okay.
Has this been presented anywhere other than us for
No.
feedback?
No, just internally with city staff and the Bike to Bright team.
We're making a motion to approve.
This is discussion, so it's not a recommendation. We just wanted this, body to be aware of this particular ordinance and any feedback that you have as it works up to, the city commission level. You know, we're looking for your input. You've got expertise in this area. You deal with the community quite a bit. And so if you want to get back to staff and so we can look at those recommendations, it would be great.
Do we have a set process for presenting stuff like this to the historic districts, the people that'll be directly impacted, the residents, or is this something that would be mailed to them to review and come voice their opinion, or?
To advise them of the new ordinance, we have publication within the Palaca Daily News. I believe Sunday, it's 14 days in advance of the first reading of an ordinance. And then there is the second reading of the ordinance by the city commission. That's published on the website and published in the Palaca Daily News. There's not direct mailings because that would cover the entire city and it's cost prohibitive.
When codes people is traveling around the city, and they, you know, this is not exactly what we're talking about, but when they see stuff, should they report to whoever their supervisor is? Or is that not admissible?
That's generally not procedurally how it works.
That's procedurally how it works. There you go. Go ahead.
Please use your microphone, Ms. Ross.
Sorry?
That's fine.
So just to kind of walk you through what happens, we have 2 designated code enforcement officers in the city. They know the codes very well when they go to inspect properties throughout the city. So they know when they're issuing a notice of violation, exactly what code they are referencing. And they explicitly state the section of the code within the notice of violation. So they don't need to go to a superior in order to issue that notice of violation.
I'm not gonna make any friends, I guess. It appears to me they got blinders on though when they come and go. That's the part I'm talking about. We got old tires piled up and
So, Mr. Wallace, if you want to get to me with a list of addresses where you think there are code violations, I am happy to check and make sure
now
that.
you're answering my question from back in the beginning. Thank you. So they don't, when they see something,
You know what?
try to rectify it.
Well, they can't rectify it. All they can do is issue a notice of violation. They can't trespass onto the property and try and remove tires on it.
No, I know that, but they could turn in a report to, and does anybody understand what I'm saying? Or am I that vague? Could they turn in a report when they get back to the office? Say, I saw up there on 8th Street, there's a pile of 8 tires there in the parkway.
Yes.
Isn't that what you're saying, that they would file a report, and then Ms. Wallace, they would, in the report, they would put what code they're violating. They would take that and bring it back to City Hall, file that report, and then action we take it from that point on, right?
It's called a notice of violation and the property owner has 15 days to rectify the violation. If they don't, then they are set for a hearing before a special magistrate who holds a hearing to determine findings of fact and conclusions of law on whether or not the code was actually violated.
But you told me that you would get with me, if I understood, which is not always the case anymore. You would get with me and I would give you a list of these things that I see. Well, I'm asking if the city codes people, do they turn in a report and file a report? Or they gotta be, okay,
All the time.
okay.
That's what I was saying.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yes, sir, and that's what I repeated to you just a minute ago. You're just,
Well, I should have listened to you, but I saw that it was you and I didn't.
I'm familiar as well with what Mr. Wallace is talking about, Chair Gilbert.
I understand. He's giving me a hard time now.
Back, in years past, the city staff did not have the amount of code enforcement officers that we currently have, so they did not self-report. They required neighbors and property owners to report on each other, so to speak, rather than our code enforcement officers self-reporting. Now we do a mixture of both, now that we've ramped up code enforcement.
That's an answer to my question. No.
It's a yes,
Yes.
it's a yes. But in years past, we didn't.
Okay, I'm done.
Are you sure, Mr. Watson?
No, but I think so.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you, Ms. West, for presenting that to us. Now we're going to move on to Mr. Wallace's request, discussion, because conversation regarding plats and code requirements within the subdivisions that allow within subdivisions.
You're looking at me.
You're on.
It's all you.
Okay, I've not got a spiel prepared, but what I'm talking about, and I've been talking about for many, many, many years, when we get a plat that comes before us, that plat, there's no way in God's green earth, at this point in time, that plat can meet our subdivision regulations. Is that right?
Can you be more specific on how it doesn't?
Require sidewalks. How many plats we require sidewalks? Every plat has to be reviewed by our city engineer and our city surveyor. Now, I understand you could get somebody on a retainer to do that, but we don't have a city surveyor, we don't have a city engineer, and it lists for percents of grade on sidewalks and all kind of, you know, it's just, if you look at our subdivision regulations, it looks like something left over from the 20s and the 30s. Am I right there? I'm having trouble being right.
So just for a little clarification, it's rare for subdivisions, that's a term of art, within the planning world. It's rare for subdivisions to be approved anymore. Now, the nature of the beast is in the form of a planned unit development, a PUD, which accommodates innovative designs, whether or not they're innovative is subjective, but it has all of that criteria in terms of sidewalks, landscaping, setbacks. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I understand a planned unit development. I wish that all of them were planned unit developments. I mean, then we could negotiate and we would know who let the horse out, you know, when it comes to being screwed up like some of them are. Now, I think when some preliminary plat comes before us on the board, we are saying that we approve it to be in compliance with our subdivision regulations for the city. That we feel that it is.
Okay, I am actually not aware of the nexus in our code between a preliminary plat approval and subdivision, so I apologize, I'm not
Well,
aware.
we issue a preliminary, for a preliminary plat, we approve it or disapprove it.
Right,
Then the next thing that comes to us is, the final plat. We approve it or disapprove it. Now, if that plat, there's more to the plat than the map. The plat is the subdivision and all the regulations pertaining to it. We don't comply with those.
how so?
Back to what I said a minute ago, if you want to take, one particular thing, and it always sticks out in my mind, is sidewalks. We've had, we don't require sidewalks anymore. The one we just addressed. There's no sidewalks required for that plat to be. Did you pull our subdivision regulations out and read them?
I was actually going to defer to you to itemize what the concerns were, because
Well,
I
if
wasn't aware.
If I'd have known you were gonna let me do that and defer to me, I would have been a lot more prepared than I am now. I thought we were gonna discuss it.
Okay,
And
we
I was
can,
counting on you, which I'm not making friends anymore. I was counting on you as our legal counsel to
I
be
was
prepared
not
to
aware that
voice
that
an opinion of whether or not.
okay, so let me understand, we can table this for next time. I need very clear direction from the board on what the scope of legal research you would like me to do, whether it falls within my purview or the planning director, but I need some specificity here on what you're looking for.
I would like for you to read our subdivision regulations and what is it?
I'm pointing to it, it's chapter 74, Ms. West.
Okay.
I'd like for you to read our subdivision regulations and the history of them. And read, the current state, chapter 177, what they require for a plat. We've got state requirements for a plat.
I'm well aware of that.
I know you are. And, I doubt seriously, I've always looked at it and tried to make it meet 177 rather than our subdivision regulations, which is not what I should be doing. But I would turn down every plat that came through here. They do not meet our subdivision regulations. Now, as far as the meat of the drawing, the map, I always try to bring out if it doesn't meet what is required for the meat of the map in chapter 177, the state's regulations.
So I do believe the city is adhering to the requirements in Florida statute 177. I'm not aware of any requirement that a plat have to incorporate our subdivision requirements. I am not aware of that nexus. If it's there, I'll do the research as you say and see if that is a requirement for a plat to incorporate subdivision requirements. I'm not aware of it.
For us to give an approval of a subdivision, yes, it has to match.
Okay.
Do you not agree?
I don't know. I need to look into it.
That's just for us as a board to give an approval of a proposed subdivision. You should know whether it matches our subdivision regulations, because you tell us, no, it doesn't. You can't say that, you can't do this.
So we haven't had an application for subdivision approval in quite some time. Certainly, it hasn't occurred in the entire time that I've been here, because the preferred method for a developer to pursue a subdivision-like development is a PUD.
Well, we've only, yeah, okay, and like I said, I wish they were all PUDs. Then we could agree up front what they've got to do and what we've got to do. But maybe I'm all wet, but I don't think so.
Okay.
Anybody, any other board member have anything they'd like to add today? But staff would like to talk to. Can I call somebody from the audience that would like to speak?
Sure.
I wasn't sure if to do that this time.
Can I ask, am I the only one up here that knows what I'm talking about? Or do y'all agree that everything's just jam up?
I think you're the only one that knows what you're talking about.
I would mention that some of our subdivision regulations are a little past date, and that's something our previous planning director was compiling a list of, was all the things in our zoning code that's out of date. And I'm sure as Mr. Gemmo gets on board and up and swing, I'm sure he's gonna be tracking some of these that were left by his predecessor. Mr. Wallace is right, the city doesn't have a city engineer on staff, and there is a reference to that within our subdivision regulations. So I'm sure this is something Mr. Gemmo is tracking.
Okay. Let's get, Ms. Kitchen has something she would like to add, that's no reason.
Public comment on this. It's not really a public comment item, but we go for it.
That's the reason I asked you before I said yes. Then you said yes, now well, get on to me.
He threw chastising his West Florida. I guess it's a public comment, but I worked in the property company's office for 36 years. I worked deeds. I drew in the plats and plat maps. I worked with them exclusively. I think this is a matter of semantics. Plat and subdivision is basically the same thing. You cannot have a subdivision unless you have it platted. A recorded subdivision has to be platted. And the subdivision, from what I'm understanding Earl's saying, our subdivision requirements call for sidewalks. So there's a loophole in the law apparently. Some of these real slick developers have figured out if they call it a plat, they don't call it a subdivision because there's no definition saying a subdivision is a plat. They can slip by and not have to qualify for a subdivision because they're doing a plat. It's like tomato and tomato. So I think that's what the issue is. We probably need to tighten up the wording a little bit. Definitely define a plat and subdivision. If there's a difference between the two, then show a difference. But a subdivision has to be platted or it can't be recorded. I think that's the deal. And Earl, being a surveyor and me being a deed worker all these years, when you say plat or subdivision, it's the same thing. It's like tomato and tomato. Plat and subdivision is the same thing. You can't be separate. But in our city.
What's the map and what's the
Yeah, but
development?
apparently in our code, they kind of are separate. And so it's not, it's a little bit vague, I would think, and that's why some of these developers just slip through the crack. Oh, I'm not doing a subdivision, Ivy Street subdivision. Oh, that's not a subdivision, that's a plat. Well, folks, it's called Ivy Street subdivision. It's not called Ivy Street plat. That's the one on Ivy Street, 1 block off of St. John's Avenue. The Edgemore property, it was on Edgemore and Mosley, which got defeated. That was a plat, but they called it a subdivision. The developer did, but it was actually a plat. So that's what the difference is, I think. So I think that's something maybe the staff needs to look at that and get the city attorney, maybe see if there's a way to make the wording or the definition or put definitions into something to make it a little bit tighter. So, you know, if you do a plat, it has to follow the subdivision rules, or say that a plat doesn't have to, and separate the two or put them together or something. And that's all I want to say. And I do understand what you say, Earl, which probably means I'm in trouble.
Thank you. So if you have anything else? Anybody else? And again, we have to vote on this. This is just informational tonight for us, right?
It was discussion. Mr. Wallace requested a conversation.
Oh, I'm sorry. My mind went back to what we were talking about. Forgive me, please.
No worries.
Okay, so we're done with that. Is that all you want, Mr. Wallace? I mean, I said we're done.
That was much more than what I wanted.
Okay, well, we got much more in staff comments.
I have an introduction to make, if I may. Ms. West introduced Mr. Gimmo, and I'd like to introduce the new city manager to you, if I may.
Well, I was going to do that, but go ahead.
Oh, you can do it. I'm
Okay,
excited.
I was just waiting for staff comments and then.
Mr. Bell, if you'd approach the podium. This is Mr. Bell. He comes to us with more than 20 years of experience in local government. He was approved by the city commission as city manager on February the 8th. And this is our planning board.
Well, I should say hello. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm excited to be here. Eager to do the work that's set out before me. I think you probably heard me say on multiple occasions that this community has tremendous potential. The type of work that we're looking at ahead of us is the kind of stuff that I've done in the past. It's all in my wheelhouse per se. But I cannot say or emphasize enough how warm and welcoming the community has been to me thus far. And it's made it really easy to make the transition, even though I'm still drinking from a fire hose. Every day is learning, but that's the exciting part about being a city manager. Never a dull moment. You're always learning and you're always engaging with people if you do it the right way. By the grace of God that I'm here, and I'm sure and certain that I will not let you down. So, I welcome all of your input, and I look forward to getting to meet each and every one of you and having those conversations. With that, I'll stop, and I want to introduce Mr. Gamo. You probably had conversations with him up until this point, but new hire with the organization. Very knowledgeable, with a tremendous amount of expertise. Comes to us with having been the director at Palm Beach County. Many of our paths have crossed in several places. So it's amazing, that we've been in some of the same spaces together and not even know it.
Probably the same needs.
Exactly, could be. So would you like to come up and say something, or you can speak from there?
I already introduced myself
Okay,
to the planning board.
fantastic.
And I'm like you, I'm very excited, to meet the challenges, that this beautiful town has.
Thank you very much.
Good. Thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, Ms. Sunny.
Is any of the other staff, Ms. West, do you have anything for the same? Comments?
I am going to go back just so I'm very clear on what the expectations are for me reporting back on this item that we're going to table, and I should probably get a motion for that. My understanding on the scope of work is to read our subdivision regulations in section 74 of the code and the history, and also compare with the current plat requirements set forth in Florida statutes 177. And basically, I'll provide a memo to the board if that suffices. And if you want to give me any more guidance in terms of what expectations are, this would be the ideal time to let me know.
Do you need a motion
The table
to take?
or postpone
Well,
this particular item, so it's placed on the agenda for next time.
does that sound like it would encompass your concern?
Yeah.
Then the motion to postpone, she said table, but then she said to
Sorry,
postpone.
postpone, I think would
Yeah.
be most accurate.
I move to postpone.
On motion, you want a second?
March to the, this is already March, to the April meeting, sir?
I'm sorry.
Are you giving her till April, or are you giving her more time?
How long would you like this one?
April.
I make a motion to postpone until the April meeting.
Second.
As far as motion. Mr. Burnett, second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, seeing none, motion passes unanimously. Now, is there any other staff comments? Any board comments? Anybody would like to comment to anything? And I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you.